Riley back with you today, otherwise known as Paper Sweetpea, and I am an independent creative memories advisor from Australia. I've got a super fun little project to share with you all today, and it features the brand new square and circle punches that have just released from Creative Memories. And I'm also going to showcase a little bit of the Polar Lights collection, which is a fabulous new winter themed collection that's just released. I love the colours of this collection and everything about it. When I first saw these punches though and had a little play with them, I thought, oh, you know what, these are going to be great for creating some shaker borders, and that's the project that I'm going to share with you today. These are super easy to make, and it's a great way to create with your circle and square punches. You can see in my little windows there, I've got some cute little sequins shaking all about. I created a horizontal square themed border, and I've used the same technique to create a vertical circle shaker border. And these borders will be fabulous to add to a layout, which I will share with you at the end of this video. Now I've just got a few key elements here on my desk that you're going to need to recreate your shaker borders. I've got both the square and the circle punch from Creative Memories. You can use either for this project. It's the exact same technique that I use for both punches, so it doesn't matter what sort of shape that you wish to use for these borders. You're going to need some sequins, and I've got a really cute snowflake and silver sequin mix that I've purchased from Uniquely Creative from here in Australia. You're also going to need something to back the border to hold all of those sequins in place. I've been to my local craft store and I've just bought a 12 by 12 sheet of acetate. You can see it's a fairly thick plastic. You can use one of your page protectors and cut it down, but it is a thinner plastic, but it will work just fine. But if you don't want to cut down one of your page protectors, then you can go check out your local craft store to see if they've got a thicker acetate. I've also got my Creative Memories foam tape, and with it I'm going to use just an old cheap pair of scissors. I'm not using my Creative Memories branded scissors purely because the adhesive from the foam tape does come off onto your scissors, and even though you can clean it, it can gunk up your scissors, so I just don't want to use my good Creative Memories scissors, which is why I've just got a little cheap pair here. I've got my Precision Point adhesive glue pen, and I'm going to be working with the scallop blade and the straight blade with my 12-inch trimmer. And I've got some repositionable tape. You can use whatever your favorite is, whether it's the regular adhesive tape, but I like the repositionable. And then I'm going to be working with the Polar Lights collection, paper and embellishments. So we'll get started. All right, so the first thing we need to do is trim a strip of paper for our window strip. And I'm working with, I've got 2 sheets of paper here. The polka dot I'm going to use for my window strip, and then this lovely starry print paper will be the background. Now the polka dot paper was from the Shades of Polar Lights paper pack, and the starry paper was from the Polar Lights designer paper pack. So for our window strip, we need to trim it to 2 3/8 of an inch by 12 inches. Now, if you're not sure on your trimmer board what the 2 3/8 of an inch measurement is, I can show you. You've got your 2-inch marking here and your 2.5 inch marking there in the center. The 2 3/8 of an inch marking, it is the first short little marking to the right of the 2.5 inch mark there. So if that helps you, and I know this measurement sounds really exact, but I just found that it gave the perfect width for our window strip. So we'll trim one of those. Another important thing that you need to consider when making your border strip is whether you want to have it vertical on your layout or whether you're going to have it horizontal. So that will just come down to how you embellish your border. but do give thought to how you would like it to be positioned on your page. I'm going to create a shaker border today that will be for a vertical setting. I'm going to bring in my circle punch. Now this technique will work, as I said at the start, it will work with either the circle or the square punch. I'm going to share today how I created it with the circle punch, and you're going to want to work with it upside down so that you can see the circle. But basically what you need to do is insert your strip as far as it goes, and I find it helps to hold your punch up rather than holding it flat, so to speak. If you just hold that up a little bit to keep it into place. And you need this right side edge here of the strip. I'm going to push it all the way through until it's sitting evenly up against the side of the punch. So I'll just push it out again, and you just want it to be neatly flush with the right hand side there of your punch. And when you're happy, you can just punch your first circle. I'm going to insert that strip again, and I want it in as far as it will go. And just with my finger on the side of the circle we punched, I'm going to slide that strip back to the edge of that punch so it's sitting nice and flush. You can see there, I'm just going to, until that circle just touches the side of my punch. And when you're happy, you can punch your second circle. You can see I'm getting a nice, neat and even result. To make it easier for you while you're getting it into place, if you sort of half squeeze your punch just a little bit, that will help to hold your paper into place. And again, I'm just holding my punch up a little bit. When you think you're happy, just squeeze it to hold the paper and punch. And we're going to do this all the way along this strip. It gets a little trickier as it gets closer to this shorter edge. And our last punch, I'm just going to hold my paper there in the center of the circle till I get it into place. And when I'm happy, I can punch it. Now what you will notice when you've punched your 5 circles is the width to the edge of the paper here is more narrow than what this side is. So we're going to trim a little bit off the short edge that has the wider measurement here. So keep your little circles that you've punched. They'll be great for another project. And I'm just going to bring back in my trimmer board. And for the edge that has that wider measurement, I'm going to trim about 1/4 of an inch. And you can see by trimming just that little bit off, that makes it more even. We are going to have another strip of paper behind this that will take it back out to the 12-inch mark, so you don't need to worry that that's been trimmed a little bit shorter. Now you want to turn your window strip face down on your cutting mat, and I've trimmed a strip of my acetate to be about 2¼ inches wide. So it's not quite the width of our border here. So just over the 2-inch mark, and I'm going to just cut, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to cut a strip there that will back our circle, and you want to make sure that you've got enough acetate to clear the edges of that circle well, which I have. I can actually cut a little bit more off mine. And when you're happy with that, you can just use it as a template to cut some more acetate. And we're going to need 3 pieces. So I'm going to do the middle circle as well as the circle to the top and the bottom of my window strip. And this is where I'm going to bring in my precision point adhesive pen. Now I don't want to go right up against the edge of my circle, but you just want to add some glue a few millimeters away from the edge like I'm doing there, and this is to hold your acetate into place. And that glue will dry fairly quickly. I'm not going to push down on it too much because I don't want it to seep through my window there. But just keeping it a few millimeters away from the edge to hold it into place. So that's all 3 windows now have got their backing. Okay, so we need to add some backgrounds to the 2 remaining circles. I've just got some of the baby blue cardstock here, and I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces that can back those windows. You want to make sure that you've got, again, plenty of width there. Make sure that it covers our circle well and truly. The same for that. And we can add our little embellishments to these. Just going to carefully flip that over. But I'm going to bring in my sticker sheet, and I really love these cute little snowflakes that we've got here on the sticker sheet. So what I think I'm going to do, and I'm just going to use our window strip as a guide, but I'm going to add some of these little snowflakes and then center them with some of the little pearl or Diamante adhesives that came with those die cuts. So I'll just carefully peel that snowflake away, and it won't matter if some of it is just tucked in under the window a little. It's just to use it as a reference point. And I've got the little aqua one here as well, which I'll layer like so. And then we're going to add a little bit of sparkle. Can lift that out of the way for now. Just going to add a little bit of sparkle with some of these, and I might add the blue just to the center of those snowflakes, just to add that little bit of extra pizzazz and color. Okay, so now with my adhesive tape, I've got my repositionable tape. I'm just going to add a little bit of repositionable tape to the back of that window strip. That glue's drying already, it dries very quickly. And then I can align that back over our little snowflakes. So that's one little window. Okay, so now for our second little window here, I'll just bring that over as a guide, but I think I'd like to use this adorable little polar bear that you can see there from the sticker sheet. I'm just going to tuck him in there, and I might add one of these cute little embellishments there to the top. When I'm happy how that's looking, I can adhere that into place as well. Just doing the same thing with my repo tape. And aligning that. I think I'd like to add another one of these little stars. Now I'm just going to start adding my foam tape to the back of my window strip. I'm going to leave the top and bottom edge for the moment, like so, using my older scissors, of course. So I'll just keep adding them, like so. Now we also want to just add a little bit of foam to the back of our embellishment clusters, just so that it won't droop in any way when we back it with our next layer of paper, like so. Now we need to add some foam tape to the bottom edge here. However, it's just a little bit too wide. I'm just going to cut through center of that foam tape lengthways. This is what can gunk up your scissors, so this is why I'm using just a cheapo pair of scissors, which will just make that a little bit skinnier to fit top and bottom. Don't worry if your paper's peeling off already. And then we just need to come in and fill in each side of those circles as well, and you're going to have to do the same thing. However, you're going to need to make sure that your foam is enclosed around that circle. You don't want to have any little holes where your sequins are going to be able to fall through. And you just want to make sure that that is going to be entirely sealed around that circle. If you've got any overhang, you can just cut that off. Okay, so I have all of my foam tape in place where it needs to be, and as you can see, it looks a right mess. But as long as you've got, you know, a square shape enclosed around each of the back of those circles in your windows, you're good to go. I'm just going to sit that to the side. We're going to cut the backing strip now. And I'm going to use this star patterned paper from the designer paper pack. I'm going to switch out my straight blade for the scallop blade. And I'm just going to trim a very small strip off that one side to start my scallop. Now, as you can see, that's a lovely rounded shape, and I want that the same on both sides. So I'm going to rotate my paper, and I'm going to trim this strip to be 2 3/4 of an inch wide. And as you can see, I've rotated my paper so both sides have that rounded scallop, and the offcut will have quite a sharp pointy scallop. So that's why I rotate my paper. Now I'm just going to align that onto my cutting mat and just place my window strip next to it. And bringing in my little sequin mix that I have, I'm just going to sprinkle a few little piles in line with where those windows will be. Now, I always think the key is not to have too many sequins. I think less is often more. You get a better result and you're not going to crowd your little windows. But I'm basically just putting a little pile of sequins in the area where those windows will be. Okay, so when you've got your little piles together as such, I'm just going to rotate that bottom strip carefully and just make sure that all of the paper, the backing paper from my foam tape, has been removed. Some of it came off when I was cutting these slimmer strips. Okay, now this is all going to be done purely by eye again, but basically you need to allow a little border all the way around your strip, because you remember we have trimmed this window strip to be a little bit shorter so that we can have a nice edged border. And when you're happy with how that looks, got it fairly even, you can press down to hold that into place. And all of that foam will keep your sequins in their little windows. You can see what we've been left with, a really sweet shaker border. Now I'm going to add an extra layer to mine. And I've, again, just with my scallop blade, I've trimmed a 3" by 12" strip. And that's going to allow just a small border either side of our shaker. And it just gives a really nice balance of having the dark coloured paper sandwiched in the middle there and having that lighter toned paper. It just helps to make those colours really pop. And as a rule, I generally like to have my borders at a 3-inch wide diameter. So we can just line up the bottom there, keeping an even border either side, and we can stick that down. Now to finish off our little design, I might just add a little phrase sticker here, let it snow. I might just add that in between those two little windows. Normally I would probably use foam squares to adhere the title, but because we've already got so much foam tape there that's risen our border up, I'm just going to stick that down nice and flat. So now that that's all stuck down, you can see those sequins moving around their little windows there. And that's all ready to be added to a page layout. So this is how my circle shaker border looks on a background page now. And you may remember I said when we punched out these circles to keep the little offcuts, the little punched out pieces. I've cut mine in half and I've just alternated sides that I've stuck to my page, but created this fun little scalloped border down the side there, the opposite side to my shaker border, and it's now ready to have some photos added to the page. You could of course turn this into a 2-page design. You just need to create obviously a second page, mirror reverse. It would look lovely as a 2-page design as well. Now to show you the square border that I made earlier, you can see there all the gorgeous sequins in the little windows. This was a horizontal border, and I've added it to the base of a background page, and the same things with our little offcuts. I've cut the squares in half diagonally and I've just added them across the top of my page as a fun little border as well. So there you have it, 2 different border designs, one with the circle, one with the square, but the exact same technique to produce both. I really hope you give something like this a try with the circle and square punch from Creative Memories, or you check out the new Polar Lights collection as well. I'm going to link everything below this video today. Thank you so much for watching and have fun creating. See you next time. Bye.